Bishop Barrow's charity. And head boy, Ben is with us. Afternoon, Ben.
Afternoon.
When are you off to university?
I should be at the end of June, I believe.
And where are you going?
First choice is Exeter at the moment.
What will you be reading?
Law, hopefully.
Hoping to do a career in law?
Yeah, hoping to do a career in law, yeah.
Okay. So, how do you think COVID... Have you got friends who are at university at the moment?
Yes, I do, actually. A lot of my mates from the year above are all gone off to university. I know a few of them actually come back because a lot of their studies have been online. So a lot of them have thought, well, there's no point in me being here, I may as well come home. So I think 2 or 3 of them have come home, which is nice. But there's a lot of them like Freshers Week, for instance, didn't really happen. They all had to go in groups of 6, and I know it was nice because they have really close bonds with those 6 people, but they didn't really get the whole Freshers experience as such.
When people are going to be coming back at Christmas, there'll be 1,000-odd students coming back to the Isle of Man at Christmas. Are they going to have to self-isolate? Would you think it's worth them staying over there or perhaps coming back here?
Well, I mean, that's a good question, actually, because my brother's currently at university as well in his final year, and he is planning on coming back. But it means that he has to come out of study 2 weeks early in order to get here. So it's a way up, really. I think, especially given the times, I think it would be a good idea for them to come back just to see their family. You know, it's been a long time. Well, it will be a long time since they first went to university and coming back. So I think for the majority of them, I think it would be a good idea. But we'll just have to see.
2020 is going to be a year everybody will remember, and of course you'll be able to say I was head boy at KWC that year. What do you take away? What are your impressions, if you can flick back in your mind, of pictures and sounds and thoughts over the past 6 months?
Well, it's been completely bizarre, really. It's a complete shock to the whole of the school, and I think in the community in general. When we all came off on that first day in March, that was a very large shock, and especially for the students in their final year, because that was effectively their last day at school. You know, they didn't expect it at all. There was a lot of emotion going through a lot of them. But yeah, I think as a school we've done very well, especially for those students that had to continue doing online classes. We had online classes the whole way through the term until the end, and I think the first, we had that 2-week blip before we went off for summer holidays. I think that was really important. We all came back. We all came. You know, we all got through it. And I think that kind of bonding time, that was really nice before we all went off into our summer break.
Why Exeter, by the way?
Why Exeter? I just really like.
It's miles away.
It is miles away. Yeah, that's true. It is a very long way away, and the journeys there will be very long. But I just really like the campus. I was lucky enough to go last October, and I went around a few universities, and Exeter just caught my eye, really. I really enjoyed the campus, and they've got loads of sports facilities, and yeah.
You can tell the truth here, Ben. How do you think the hierarchy and the organisers at King William's have handled the past 6 months?
I think they've genuinely done very well. I think it's been very difficult to...
Have you always had as much information as you needed?
Yeah, we've, especially in my lower 6th year, where I had an abundance of information, in fact more than I actually expected, really, coming from the school, and we had a set timetable that they had listed up, so we knew exactly where we were meant to be, like online, and all the teachers did perfectly, and we got all of our work. We got extra work. In fact, I got more work, I think, than I ever had when I was off. But yeah, they did really well.
Okay, anyone here been into contact, anybody in anyone's family who's had a case of COVID at all? Reese?
Yeah, so a person in my household was confirmed to have a case.
Can I ask you who?
It was my stepmom. Her name is Shiva. She works as an advocate works as an advocate for the Isle of Man. And I just wanted to say that the Isle of Man handled the whole actual, like, when you have a case, they handled it really well. As soon as we had a confirmed case, there was I'd say a team that would call daily and monitor where we'd been and make sure that our symptoms weren't getting worse. And if they were...
So you were monitored?
I wasn't, but she was.
Yes.
We're not, me as a our household don't actually know how she came into contact with it. It's possible that I got it because I went to St Ninian's. This is also my first year at KWC, and it's possible that I got it off one of the rugby trips that took place because they just came back from one of the Spanish islands, and apparently they were in close contact with COVID cases, but they were allowed back in school. So it's believed I gave it to them. So I wasn't monitored because I wasn't confirmed, but the team that she had that was following them made sure she was like getting everything she needed, and if she was going out the house, where she was going. Thankfully, she didn't. So I just want to say it was really well managed.
How was she in herself? How was her health?
No, she was really lucky. She had it perfectly fine.
What were her symptoms?
So she just had a very high fever, loss of taste, loss of smell. Her breathing was a little bit affected, I think, but nothing too heavy.
How did you feel? It didn't freak you out or anything, did it?
I was a little concerned because obviously you were hearing about the whole hospitalised cases and everything, and around this time it was when the island had the first deaths. So it was quite a scary experience, but at the same time, I did feel a bit safe as well. I was scared for like our general health.
You seem very calm about it now.
Well, yeah. Thankfully, it was just something that we had for a couple of weeks, and then it was gone. It was, in my experience, it was a bit worse than a common cold. I know it's been compared to that a couple of times, and obviously there are people who have had it worse. So I think we were really lucky in the way that we had it. I suppose.
And I think this is the conundrum that people say, in that, as you say, some people say it's a cold, it's nothing worse than the flu.
Yeah.
You've obviously experienced the nuances of it now. Yeah. How would you explain that to someone?
I suppose it's a luck of the draw. I suppose some people get it really badly, and some people get it mildly. But it's not something to be underplayed. You see in news that people are just discarding it as it's a hoax and stuff like that, and I personally think it's completely wrong. If you get COVID, you should treat it as seriously as it is. You shouldn't leave your house, because it could be worse than you have it. You could either have it at the start, and it could be really bad, or you could have it quite easily, and there's no way to tell. So I think as long as it's managed carefully and properly, it's something that people can get through, but it's something to be taken deadly seriously.
And when did her taste buds come back?
Couple of weeks after she was cleared. She had a lack of taste for about 6 weeks. 6 weeks after she was diagnosed as not having it. Not diagnosed, sorry. When she was cleared of it, and it was gradual. It was slowly. You can start to smell really strong smells, but only fractionally. And then towards the end of the 6-week period, she had a full sense of smell.
And how seriously does she take that nowadays?
I'd say we're not light with it. We are quite concerned with COVID because we don't know if she got the antibody test and she didn't have antibodies. So we are quite concerned that if we get it again, it could be worse. And you get over it, it doesn't necessarily mean you are immune to it. So we do take it very seriously, and that's why we're quite concerned when we hear the news stories of people who are not going direct when they get off planes and stuff, and they're not going directly into isolation. How's
your rugby these days, by the way?
I don't particularly play rugby. I'm not a player.
But what was the rugby trip then? How did that happen?
So one of our senior teams went across. The St Ninian's
senior teams. St Ninian's team went to play rugby, and you obviously...
I'm good friends with a couple of them, and because of the way that the rules and laws came in, they were allowed to come back into school, and they didn't have to isolate for the 2 weeks. So a couple of them were in school, and that's how contact went, apparently.
Good. Right, we're going to take a break. I'm back with the students of King William's College in a few moments' time. We may talk about COVID, or we may talk about Donald Trump. Back in a moment.